What's going on, fellas? Welcome back to the stream. Welcome back to our essentially daily stream. Obviously, I'm on vacation right now, so I'm not streaming on my normal schedule, but I feel like lately I've been doing a good job getting back to the streams a little bit, talking to you boys. Definitely have missed some of these streams and happy to get back into it. Let me just get myself situated quickly. Um, let's see. Um, there we go. All right, there we go. I apologize for that, fellas. But yeah, welcome back to the stream. So since we talked yesterday, nothing really new has come out. The only thing that has been, talked about a lot is Rampage Jackson's son, Raja Jackson. The incident that he had with the pro wrestler was kind of crazy. What happened there? But yeah, if you guys haven't seen it, here's the video. Um, Sorry, let me mute this. So yeah, here's the incident. He kind of just jumped into the cage, slammed this guy down, knocked him out, and continued to hit him after that. It was pretty crazy, honestly. But yeah, that's what happened. I'm sure something's gonna happen to him, jail time or whatever. It was pretty crazy, but yeah, that's the big story of the day, I guess. Unfortunately, hopefully the pro wrestler is all right. I heard that he was back awake. It took a while, but he was back awake, so that's good to hear, and hopefully everything's good with that. But yeah, kind of a crazy situation, to be honest. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Welcome. John, what's going on, brother? Welcome. But yeah, I mean, in terms of MMA, going back to the MMA side of things, the Shanghai card just wrapped up yesterday. It was an okay card, I would say. The timing of it was odd, but the card itself, I would say, is fine. Some fun fights, some not so fun fights, but it is what it is. But luckily for us, next week we have UFC Paris coming up, which is going to be really exciting. Fortunately, it's not this upcoming Saturday, but it's the Saturday following. But it should be a really good card. Imavov and Caio Borralho, BSD, and Rufi are on the card for the main and co-main, which should be really fun. I have videos already recorded that will be coming out on the week of the fight. So be sure to be on the lookout for that one. And yeah, and outside of that, we also have additional good fights. Out of the upcoming fights, what is the next big upset will be? Let's see. The next biggest upset. So I think Caio Borralho, honestly, I know a lot of people don't give him that much of a chance. I think he has a chance to beat Imavov. I also think BSD has a chance to beat Rufi. But I wouldn't say that would be the answer for it. Let's see some of these upcoming fights. Let's see. I think Roundtree could beat Yuri, but I don't think that'd be a huge upset, even if that does happen. Maybe RDR beating Fluffy. I could see that happening. Yeah, I don't know. At least for the fights that are announced that are on Google, I don't really know. I guess if I had to say, maybe I'll say BSD beating Rufi. I think that could potentially happen. But I don't know. It's a good question. I was told in live. Yeah. He was kind of messing with him a little bit, and obviously the day prior, Raja did get almost knocked out with a spinning wheel kick in practice, in sparring. So yeah, I guess he just had enough eventually, but still, I mean that's a little bit too much. And the pro wrestler even apologized after the whole beer can thing. So yeah, it was too much. Yeah, but yeah, it's just that was a little bit too much though. Kid Low, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. No announced Apex cards for 2 months. Let's go. Yeah, I think we might. There's honestly a chance we don't see any Apex cards for the rest of the year. We'll see. I mean, we have fights announced up until the end of October, and then in November, of course, we have the New York pay-per-view, maybe we can get some arena cards as well. Also in December, obviously we have a pay-per-view, but we usually go to Orlando as well. So one of those weeks are probably going to be booked up for that. So we'll see. I mean, honestly, if I had to guess, probably we'll have an Apex card mixed into it, mixed in there. But there is somewhat of a chance that we may not see an Apex card for the rest of the year. But we shall see. Whenever there's arena cards, is always better. The fans just make everything better. I think as of late on some of these cards, maybe even some of the cards that haven't been like amazing, we see how much of an importance fans have for a lot of these fights. They just make the fights feel more exciting and feel more important. But yeah, I still think Gon has a good chance against Aspinall. Yeah, we'll see. We shall see. I mean, the one thing that I will say is I've said it a bunch of times, but if Gon could stop takedowns or even just make it out of the first 2 or 3 rounds, then then I think there's probably a better chance. The longer the fight goes, I think the better the chances get for Ciryl Gane. But it's just, in my opinion, I just think the grappling is such a significant difference between these two guys. Then the first round, I do think, or the first 2 rounds, I should say, I do think Tom Aspinall will eventually be able to find a takedown and will eventually be able to find a submission. But we shall see. We shall see. If it's pure striking affair, Gane, of course, has a chance. He's a great striker, very athletic, very fast, even faster and more athletic than Tom Aspinall is. So, yeah. I mean, Francis just ended up yeah, I don't know. I'm not too big of a fan of Francis Ngannou, if I'm being honest. His fighting style is fun, but it was kind of weird that he didn't show up to the PFL Africa thing, and I know his reasoning or whatever he said, but there was multiple events that he didn't show up to, and I believe the second PFL Africa event that he didn't show up to was all Africans, I think. So I don't know. I just don't think it was an amazing look that he didn't show up to that event, but whatever. Whatever. What are you going to do? It's just this guy hasn't fought in forever, and I think in part it's because of the PFL. They probably can't afford to have Francis fight, so whatever. Honestly, it's just whatever. What is it basically? Yeah, he did tank the PFL. The type of contract that Francis Ngannou got is honestly so ridiculous. Even for the UFC, it would have been ridiculous, but especially for the PFL, they don't really make much money at all. I mean, I don't know how many people really watch their events. I know at this point, I actually have been giving them some praise as of late, and I think they're doing kind of a good job with some of the events as of late. They've been fun, and also the PFL Dubai card that's coming up in October, I believe. That card is looking pretty good as well. So they are doing some good things, but at least at this point or prior to this point, they don't really make all that much money at all on their events. So the fact that they're paying so much money to Francis, and also in the contract, Francis has it that his opponent also needs to make millions of dollars, multi-millions of dollars. It's just something that the PFL can't afford. And regardless of who they're able to put on a specific card with Francis Ngannou, it's just not going to sell enough in order to make the PFL money. So I think a big reason for why we only saw Francis fight once is in part because the PFL just can't afford it. And I think we've been seeing that, and I think that's also a reason why Francis has been boxing a little bit. But yeah, just a catastrophically bad contract for the PFL. Kind of crazy that they went through with it, but I guess they were just desperate to find a star. Francis just stood up to Dana, and then some people stand up. Yeah, he definitely did stand up to him, but I just think that the contract is pretty ridiculous. But good for Francis. He got a lot of money. He got a lot of things that he wanted. So good for him. I see, because it wasn't ever yeah, but wasn't I could be wrong, but wasn't the second PFL Africa card all Africans? I could be wrong. But I don't know. I just feel like he probably should have showed up. I mean, he's the ambassador of PFL Africa, which is also another part of his contract, and he's getting additional money for being a board member when probably doesn't do that much. I don't know. Maybe I'm just hating too much on Francis, but whatever. Uh, See Dana White in the UFC. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have grown to dislike as well nowadays. Yeah, I completely agree with this. This is why I'm not a big fan of Francis, because when Francis was originally negotiating with the UFC and then it eventually turned into the PFL, one of his things was he wants more money, obviously, which I can't blame him for at all. But the money wasn't the biggest thing that he wanted. He wanted fighters to be able to have more opportunities, more sponsorship opportunities, more opportunities to get paid more in other avenues or whatever. And that was his big thing. Um, of course, he wanted to get paid more money. You can't blame him for that. But he was advocating for other fighters as well. But when you look at what he's doing for the PFL, he's not really doing much. He's a board member, as I said, for PFL Africa. He's getting paid a ton of money for that. Also, he's getting paid a ton of money for his fights to the point where the company can't even afford to pay him. That's why he's not fighting a lot. And he's not really, taking any money out of his own pocket to pay fighters or something like that if he really cared about it. I don't know. I just feel like he doesn't seem that like he's the best guy in the world, but I could be wrong. Fighters, yeah, yeah, yeah. It was, or yeah, yeah. I don't know. I mean, listen, it's kind of like a tough thing to do, even for the UFC. There's just not too many African fighters out there in general. So it's a tough thing to do to have an entire card, especially in the PFL where their roster is nowhere near the level of the UFC's for all Africans. I mean, it's cool that they did it, obviously going to Africa and having a full card or basically a full card of all Africans. But yeah, there's just not too many guys now. And I guess what the PFL is trying to do is kind of build that infrastructure to get more of these guys to start MMA, to start training MMA, and get more of these guys into professional MMA organizations. And it's just the early stages of it, and at least for them, probably what they're hoping for that in a few years down the line from now, maybe 5 years down the line from now, whatever it ends up being, they end up producing a lot of fighters from Africa. And hopefully high level fighters from that region. So I think we're just in the early stages of it. We'll see where the PFL is able to go from here. If they're able to have success with this, if the UFC starts to dip their toes into Africa, I know they've been talking about it forever. Dana White specifically has been talking about it forever, but has never done it. So I guess the PFL is trying to get a head start on that and trying to build somewhat of a presence over there. So we'll see. I mean, I've given a ton of criticism to the PFL in the past, but as of late, some of their events have seemed to be pretty good. So maybe they're turning the corner a little bit here and starting to put on better events and start to make better decisions. But it's only been a couple of events, so we'll see. They have a long way to go, obviously, and even if they make all the right decisions, I still don't think they'll be in competition or legitimate competition with the UFC. They're just so far away from that at this point. But on top of that, they have been making a lot of bad decisions in my eyes. If I were the PFL, I don't even know if this is possible, but if I'm the PFL, I let Francis sign with the UFC or let Francis sign somewhere else. If it is possible, I mean, they probably can't get out of the contract, but if the UFC wanted him and if Francis wanted to go to the UFC, if I'm the PFL, I just let him go. I mean, he's not that big of a star anyway, and you're just paying him too much. He doesn't fight for you anyway, so what's the big deal? But that might not be realistic. UFC fighters wouldn't be so underpaid. Yeah. They are very underpaid. I mean, when you look at the splits, I actually have a video coming out about this pretty soon. Why UFC underpaying fighters actually hurts the sport. But when you look at the revenue splits between any other major organization, it's usually like a 50-50 split, maybe even a little bit higher, in favor of the fighters or players, I should say, or maybe a little bit higher in favor of the owners. But still, it's very close to a 50-50 split. But in the UFC, I believe it's like the fighters get like 14%, or is it like 20%? It's something like ridiculously low. I don't remember the exact percentage. But yeah, it is really low. The UFC could certainly afford to pay fighters more. And after getting this $1 billion contract with Paramount, you would assume the UFC would pay them a little bit more. I think they probably will. UFC has already talked about increasing bonuses. So I guess that's a good thing. And maybe their base contract will be a little bit higher as well at this point. But still, I don't think it's going to be anywhere near a 50-50 split. Actually, I guarantee it won't be. So yeah, there's real problems with the UFC's pay structure. and they definitely underpay fighters, and it definitely does hurt the sport, in my opinion. And I have a video coming out about that soon that goes more in depth into it. But just to give you a quick spark notes, if you're an elite athlete from the U.S. or maybe even from Europe, but mostly the U.S., and you have an opportunity to fight MMA, let's say you have a wrestling background and you want to fight MMA, or you want to play football, let's say American football, you're probably just going to go play football just because in football, even if you're not good, you're going to make millions of dollars. But in the UFC, you're going to make a 10-10 contract initially when you get there. So the money is not even remotely close. So anybody who's an elite athlete, this does exist. Guys that are elite athletes and they have the ability to play multiple sports, they're just going to go to football or go to basketball or whatever because they're getting paid 100 times more than they would get paid in the UFC. Obviously, those other organizations are bigger than the UFC and they'll pay more, of course, but it's not even like remotely close. 10-10 is nowhere close to like $1 million in 1 year. So it is a problem. Dano to win a sponsor mine. Yeah, I don't know exactly how the structure works. I think they get paid a little bit of the sponsorships, but it's not like as much as it probably should be. Fighters get paid. I could be wrong. I feel like they do get paid a little bit of the sponsors, but it's not like a high percentage. Yeah. And B, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. UFC should bring back sponsorships on the shorts. Problem solved. I believe WWE. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Probably. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Did you see the Roger Jackson? Very. Yeah, I did. That was pretty fucked up, if I'm gonna be honest. I know he got spinning head kicked a day before, a couple days before, and I guess he was upset about that. And also before the wrestler smashed a beer can in his head. But it was all a part of the bit. They're pro wrestlers. That's kind of what they do, I guess. I don't really watch, but from what I've seen, that's they're just playing a character. That's what they do, and it was a fake beer can, I think, or whatever it was. So, and even the guy apologized after that. So, see him crashing out the way he did was pretty crazy. Like a million follow-up shots after he knocked him out cold. He knocked him out cold on the slam, and then he punched him with full power like 6 or 7 times or more. So yeah, that was pretty bad. That was definitely pretty bad. I know a lot of people are saying this guy should go to jail for a long time. Honestly, probably. I mean, that was pretty bad, but I guess we'll see what comes out of this whole situation. But yeah, not great. And if you guys haven't seen it, I guess I'll show it to you. Here's the whole clip. So look, he slams him there. He's already out. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Dude, look how many follow-up shots. I mean, this is just ridiculous. It's insane. Yeah, I actually underplayed it. It was like 17 follow-up shots after he's out. Oh man. Yeah, it was bad. Was really strong for a vegan. I was a vegan. I didn't know. But yeah, it does look like he's pretty strong. Oh, actually, no. Yeah, he's a vegan. I remember that clip with his dad. But yeah, that's the breaking news of the day. Rajah Jackson just almost killing a guy. For being honest, that was pretty bad. But yeah, I mean, as I said before, in terms of the MMA side of things or UFC side of things, we got a pretty good card coming up. UFC Paris, Imavov, Bahalio, Rufi, BSD. The rest of the card is fine. I mean, nothing crazy. Mason Jones is on the card, like whatever. Bukauskas versus Paul Craig could be fun. Ziam versus Fernandez, that could be fun. Ziam has been looking pretty good as of late. Brenson Habero versus Omar Sy. Omar Sy is kind of a boring fighter, in my opinion, but Habero is not, so we'll see how that one plays out. Maichin Tybor is on the card. What more do you want? Andreas Gustafsson versus Hanat Fakhretdinov. That fight is going to be all pace and all action, I think. Not the highest skilled fight in the world, to say the least, but I think it's probably going to be a fun fight. So I'll be looking forward to that. William Gomis is on the card. He's a little bit of a sparring striker in my opinion. Doesn't really go for it that much. But he's definitely a really talented and good fighter. So we'll see what he does. And actually, in his last fight, he did go for it a little bit more than usual. Then we have Sam Patterson on the card, who's been looking really good as of late, actually. Brad Tavares, whatever. Sean Bannon, whatever. Yeah, the card is fine, I would say. When is UFC Paris? It is September 6th. So yeah, the card overall is fine. But the main and co-main make it a good card, I would say. The rest of it is just like whatever. And the fact that it's in Paris always makes it good. The crowds over there are always great. So I'm excited. If the Charles Johnson history says anything, Lona will be fighting for the title by the end of 20. Yeah, it's crazy. It is crazy. I was talking about this before. It actually has nothing to do with this specific fight, the Loney fight. But I was talking about it before. But it's kind of crazy that like a year ago or however long ago it was, Charles Johnson knocked out Joshua Van. Now Joshua Van's fighting for a title, and Charles Johnson is fighting for a roster spot. Not a roster spot, but he's fighting for a ranked spot. It's kind of crazy, the difference in the two fighters. But obviously Joshua Van is ridiculously good, and also he's ridiculously active, and he's been able to get big wins, and he earned his position. And for Charles Johnson, he's also a really good fighter. I think we saw it in the Van fight. We also saw it in this fight versus Kavanaugh, and we saw it a bunch of times. But I talk about this all the time also. Physicality is like ridiculously important, and maybe some of you guys may get annoyed about me saying it all the time, but I think Charles Johnson is a perfect example of how important physicality truly is. Because if you look back at his fight against Joshua Van, he lost the first 2 rounds very handedly, and then he found the knockout in the 3rd round because he was very physical. He was able to eat all the shots Van was throwing his way, and then he was able to land a big shot. And when he was able to land clean, it only took 1 shot, and he was able to put out Joshua Van. And same thing for this fight against Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh was piecing him up in the 1st round. He was looking really good. And yes, in part, Kavanaugh did gas out a little bit in that 2nd round, but still, Charles Johnson was able to eat all the shots that Kavanaugh was throwing his way. And in that 2nd round, when he found the opportunity, he landed a huge right hand. Also, huge mistake from Kavanaugh, keeping his hands so low in that situation. But still, it was Charles was able to land a huge right hand and put him out from there. So that kind of just shows you how important physicality is. You can be less skilled than your opponent, but if you're physical, if you can take a shot and you could hit really hard, you can beat almost anybody. Charles Johnson versus Asumabayev. Oh, yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice. I would assume probably tough fight for Charles Johnson, but he also has solid wrestling. So, yeah, maybe you could put that fight together. Let's see. Charles Johnson right now is number 15. He just got a win over an unranked guy, but still, it was a good unranked win. So, yeah, you could definitely do that. Him against Almabayev. It would be a good step up in the rankings for him. I think it makes a lot of sense. So I wouldn't mind watching that one for sure. I guess theoretically you could even do Steve Urseg versus Charles Johnson. Maybe you could do that. But, yeah, one of those two I think probably makes sense for him. After this win, I'm assuming he'll probably be ranked number 14. I believe Tamirov beat him already. So, yeah, he'll probably be 14 in the rankings, I'm assuming. But I like that matchup for sure. Prelim headliner, yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, on a pay-per-view card or something. Charles Johnson is underrated. Yeah, he's good. He's definitely good. He is really good. He has good wrestling. His striking is good. I just felt like, I think personally that Joshua Van as well as Kavanaugh are better than he is. Not because I think Charles Johnson's not good. It's because I think those two guys are ridiculously good. But he was able to beat both guys, and it kind of shows you how important physicality is. But in terms of Charles Johnson as a fighter himself, his striking is good. He's got a ton of power. He can take a shot really well, as we've seen in multiple fights. His wrestling is also really good, as we saw in multiple fights. Even in the Kavanaugh fight, he showed some solid wrestling and was able to gas out Kavanaugh in part because of the wrestling. So he does a lot of things really well out there. Energy. Yeah, honestly, yeah. It's pretty accurate. It is kind of funny how he was able to perform against some of these guys like Kavanaugh as well as Van. But when you look at some of his other fights, honestly, they weren't amazing performances to say the least, and he kind of just snuck out with a victory. For example, when he fought, let me look at his fights. When he fought, Tamirov wasn't a great fight for him, but that's one that he lost. But when he fought Sumadarji, that fight was really close. there was an argument that Sumidarji won that fight, and I don't think Sumidarji is anywhere near the level of a Joshua Van or even a Kavanaugh. So that one was interesting. And there's been some other examples of that as well, where he doesn't look amazing, but when he fights these really high level guys, he kind of steps up and looks pretty good, especially as the fight goes late. Luna versus Cody Durden, Kai Sakura versus Ode. That'd be a fun fight. Kai Sakura versus Ode, that would be really fun. Usyk versus Perez. Yeah, put that fight back together. I don't mind that. And Kopp versus Kai. Yeah, they've been trying to put that fight together forever. At least it seems like it. Hopefully they can finally do it. They got their beef. At this point, with Kai losing losing his fight against Pantoja pretty handedly as well, getting finished. I think it makes all the sense in the world at this point. And for Manel Kopp, I've been wanting to see this guy get a title shot for a while. I mean, obviously he needs to get one more win, which he was supposed to fight somebody. I don't remember who he was supposed to fight, but he had to pull out. So yeah, at this point, I think it makes a lot of sense. Do him versus Kai. They're right next to each other in the rankings. Kopp is 7, Kai is 6. And if Kopp beats Kai, we'll see how the rest of the division plays out. But I think there's an argument to be made that maybe he can get a title shot. I really want to see I really want to see Manel Kopp get a title shot. He has really good takedown defense, and his striking is tremendous. Michelle Pettis downfall, Fluffy took a soul. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Michelle looks so bad. The fact that, going into the fight, obviously Michelle has showed like ridiculously bad cardio in some fights. Like when you look, not his last fight, but when you look at his fight before that, versus the German guy that gasses really quickly, whatever his name is, I'm forgetting it. But he gassed out, Michel Pereira gassed out in a very low-paced fight, like literally in the first round. He showed the worst cardio that I've ever seen, probably. It was insane. So going into this fight yesterday, I thought Michel Pereira could lose because of his gassing issues, but I thought if he was going to lose, he would lose like maybe a third round TKO or maybe by a decision loss or something like that. But the fact that he got caught in the first 43 seconds by Kyle Dawkins of all people and got knocked out clean from that. I mean, he wasn't completely knocked out, but still, the fact that he got TKO'd that early in the fight against Kyle Dawkins is like really insane, honestly. And it is unfortunate. I mean, Michel Pereira was a really entertaining and exciting fighter, but yeah, it just seems like he's not there anymore at all. And as I said, on top of what happened yesterday against Kyle Dawkins, like he has no cardio at all. And it's not like he ever had amazing cardio, but literally having like half a round of cardio or less is insane. So yeah, I don't know. He's just not the same guy anymore. And yeah, Fluffy probably had something to do with that. Brandon Tigazek, not making a win. It's a fight. Yeah, I heard that she said she wasn't talking about him. I don't know. Whatever. Honestly, like whatever. But yeah, I did hear that. But yeah, I think it's pretty clear that Ortega at this point should probably just move up to 155. I'm assuming he will. I think he wants to. I also think the UFC will probably force him to. I mean, this is multiple times that he's missed weight. This time, and also when you look back at his fight, probably even there may be more examples besides this, but when he was supposed to fight Diego Lopez the first time around, he ended up getting sick, I think, due to a weight cutting issue. So yeah, cutting down to 145 at this point is just too much weight. I mean, you could just say he could just get in better shape. He's a little bit flabby out there, which probably will help with his weight cut. But assuming he's not willing to do that, I think he should just move up to 155 at this point, and we'll see. He also may be washed. I mean, he looked really bad in his last fight, but I would like to see him fight at least once at 155 before I make that judgment, just because maybe he looked really bad because of the weight cut. I mean, he looked terrible the day before the fight, so I don't know. Fluffy saw that, man. Yeah, Fluffy really annihilated him. It was a great performance. And Fluffy's performance against against Roman Dolidze was honestly even more impressive. Fluffy's getting better. He's kind of robbing everybody, but he's getting better as well. His striking is looking really good. His ability to take guys down and gas them out. Honestly, he's even at a higher level than it was at a certain point. He's getting better. He's looking great. Ortega announced his retirement. Oh, did that happen? I didn't know that. All right. If you're retired, then all right. I've gotten for the Let's go, bro. Good picks. Good picks. Yeah, those are all really good picks. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Before my oh, that would be a fun fight. If Michelle was fine, like if he was not like washed or looking like the way he's looking at this point, I probably would assume Michelle would win. But um, we'll see. At this point, I just think he'll probably guess out really quickly. And Shara has shown a pretty good chin. He's taken some clean shots, even though he kind of fights lower level competition. He has taken some pretty clean shots, and he's been able to, what's it called? Eat the shots. So I'm assuming that fight probably wouldn't go all that well for Michelle at this point. But if he was, at a better point, I think he'd be fine. Or I think it'd be a fun fight. But honestly, maybe he could still do it. It's not like Shar is a great fighter or anything like that. We'll see. We'll see. I think that's going to be a great fight. I do think there is a real possibility RDR wins the fight with a body knee, but we'll see how that fight plays out. Both of these guys are really good fighters, and the winner of that fight is definitely going to get the title shot. I think it's a fight that makes all the sense in the world, and yeah, I'm excited for it. It didn't retire. Yeah, I didn't think he did. Okay, you're just joking. Ortega didn't retire. Okay, yeah, I didn't think he did. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Roger first there. Let's go. Let's go. Let's make it happen. It's crazy. Michelle Jimenez make yeah, yeah. How crazy is that? That is crazy. Yeah, I don't know. What are you gonna do? I think we're gonna. He didn't take any. Yeah, he didn't take that much damage. Yeah. But he's got to, I don't know, he's just got to make some lifestyle changes. He's got to get in better shape. I feel he's not really in great shape to say the least. I mean, he's been able to have somewhat success, I guess, up until this point. But I do think maybe getting in better shape would benefit him a little bit. But yeah, I guess it was definitely a domination from Sterling. It was a clear 50-45. But yeah, there wasn't that much damage going around. Just a couple jabs, a spinning elbow that didn't really do much somehow to Ortega. I don't know. Maybe it just wasn't that hard of a spinning elbow from Sterling, or maybe Ortega just has a great chin. I mean, he does have a great chin, so maybe it's a part of that. But yeah, maybe you can make a quick turnaround. What's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Why are people saying Rise is fake? That wasn't. No, yeah, it definitely was not fake. I mean, you could see him getting hit. I was just showing the clip. He literally so he got knocked out on the slam, and then after the slam, he literally punched him like 17 times additionally after he was out. So yeah, that was not fake at all. I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know, unless I'm missing something. But I mean, the punches were definitely real. It was scripted. I don't think so. I would assume no. But yeah, I don't know. Give him a receipt. John's nervous. Yeah, it was bad, John. It was bad. I wouldn't mind Ortega versus Chandler. Yeah, that'd be fun. That would actually be pretty fun. I mean, they're probably both washed, if we're being honest, but they're also two guys that definitely go for it. So, yeah, it'll be fun. I guess we could put that on a main card of a pay-per-view, like the first fight of the night or something like that. Sure, why not? I feel bad for Rampage. Yeah. Got himself wiggled into something here. But I guess honestly, in part, it could be due to parenting a little bit, probably, or lack thereof. So I don't know, but obviously he didn't want to. He didn't want that to happen. But yeah, what else we got here, fellas? What else we got here? Yeah, I keep seeing this thing going around saying, give him a fucking receipt. I don't know what the fuck this is. I don't know. It's not parents. Yeah, honestly, probably. Um, and yeah, I guess he was just probably just wound up. I mean, it's not an excuse. It was ridiculous what he did, but he was probably just also upset because he got head kicked the day before in sparring, but probably didn't help. Main card opener, yeah, sure. I don't mind that. I think that's fun. That makes sense. And why not? I mean, does it have any meaning for either guy? Probably not, but I don't think either guy's going to be fighting for a belt anytime soon anyway. So I might as well just put on a fun fight together for a main card. Entertain the fans a little bit and go from there. Um, but yeah, I don't mind that matchmaking at all. I said this multiple times. I think Chandler. I mean, he was never really that good, but especially at this point, I think he's really washed after the Patty fight. Going into the fight, I actually thought Chandler could win, but he just looked even more washed than what he's looked in some of his other fights. When you look at his fights versus, Gaethje or Charles, both times, honestly, or even against Poirier, he had moments in all those fights because he doesn't have IQ at all, fighting IQ at all, but he still is really explosive, really powerful, and does have ability. But he just lost those fights because he has like very low fight IQ. Maybe he would have lost it anyway with better IQ, but in my opinion, he lost it because he has like zero fight IQ. But when you look at his fight against Paddy Pimblett, it was different. He just was completely washed. He wasn't really aggressive or as aggressive as he normally was, and on top of the bad fight IQ, it was a mess. And at this point, he's officially washed, in my opinion. Chandler's terrible. Yeah, he's not very good, especially at this point. Yeah, he's got no future in terms of fighting for a belt or anything. The only thing that I could see Chandler doing at this point is fighting guys like Brian Ortega or fighting guys that maybe could put on fun fights and fun performances. Maybe he fights Conor. I highly doubt it at this point, but maybe he also fights Conor if he wants to make some money. But outside of just those sort of fights, just fun fights, he's going to get nowhere near any sort of title or anything like that. I don't even think he'll be on any kind of win streak at this point. So maybe I don't know, maybe a couple more fights, one or two more fights for Michael Chandler, and he'll call it a career, and that'll probably be it. So is Ortega, both bombs, no good wins. That's a fluke since 2020. Honestly fair. Honestly fair. Yair was a solid win for Ortega. Yeah, that's probably his best win in forever. But I don't personally think Yair is that good, but still, it's a solid win, I would personally say. Especially after turning his ankle pre-fight and then getting like dominated in the first 10 seconds of the fight, but then finding a takedown and finding a submission. Solid win for Ortega. He was getting the shit banned and quit this one. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, it was still a win. It's still a win. So I would say it was a solid win, regardless of how he got there. It just showed that Ortega obviously had a huge advantage on the ground, for one, and for two, he's just a lot tougher than Yair is, and Yair tends to quit a little bit, it seems. So yeah, still a win. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's still a win. Top three. Not bad. Yeah. I mean, listen, are Ortega and Michael Chandler in the exact same spot at this point? I actually don't think so, because I think for Ortega, at least, there's probably some guys he could beat. We'll see how he looks. But for Chandler, I really don't think the same. I think Chandler is essentially just going to fight fun fights for the rest of his career, or perceived fun fights for the rest of his career, and he'll go from there. I mean, he's currently number 12 in the rankings. Who could even fight at this point? Maybe Brian Ortega, but outside of him, like, I don't know. I don't even know who they could put together. I don't think the Conor McGregor fight is going to happen, and I don't even think there's going to be much interest for it either at this point. So, whatever. What are you going to do? Chandler looks worse than Ortega. Just saying Ortega is only 2 finals. Yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming you're right. I'll believe you. But yeah, Ortega didn't look good at all in his fight versus Aljo. But I do agree with you. He looks better than Chandler. I don't think that the actual length of the losing streak really plays into it that much. Of course, it matters to an extent, but to me, I just like to see how they look out there. I mean, you could be on a 1-fight losing streak, and I could still think you're washed if you look terrible in that fight, or even if you look terrible in some of your wins. But yeah, I do agree with you that Ortega's at a better point than Chandler is right now. Have they booked Allen versus Yair, so I can box the bleeding head off? Yeah. I think that's a good fight. Yeah, I heard that was supposed to get put together. I mean, we haven't heard any announcements as of yet, so I don't know what the holdup is. I don't know what card they're supposed to put that on, but I did hear that fight was supposed to happen between those two. I think it's a good fight. I think it makes a lot of sense, and I would like to see them put that fight together. Um, Allen versus Aljo. Yeah, they could put that fight together. So let's look at the rankings. Personally, what I would like to see though is do. I know they already fought before, so maybe some of you may think this doesn't make any sense, but I would like to see Movsar versus Aljo. I actually think that fight still makes sense, just because Movsar lost his chance to fight for the title. He's going to need to fight one more time. Aljo was coming off a win against a guy who's ranked higher than him, a dominating win over a guy who's ranked higher than him in Brian Ortega. So Aljo will be in the top 5 at this point. Mosar, as I said, needs to fight again. And when you look at Lopez, when you look at Yair, most likely he'll be booked. Lerone is fighting for the belt. Ortega just fought. So there's not really that many options for Movsar Evloev to fight. And I think Aljo, honestly, could make a lot of sense as a title eliminator fight. And whoever wins that will get the title shot next. Chan looks more Washington Ortega. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I guess you could do that as well. I guess you could. But I'm assuming Silva, or not Silva, I'm assuming Lopez will lose that fight. So could you do Lopez versus Aljo? Yeah, you probably could. You probably could. But it would just, I guess my point is for Movsar, the UFC hasn't given him a title shot forever, even though he deserved it forever. And now he pulled out of his fight against Aaron Pico, or supposed to be Aaron Pico. So I don't think the UFC is going to reward him for pulling out. As I said, I think he does deserve it, and he probably should get the next title shot, regardless of him pulling out. But based on how the UFC has been treating him as of late, I'm assuming he's going to have to fight one more time. And if he has to fight one more time, a lot of these guys are already booked, and I think someone who probably could make sense is Aljamain Sterling. And whoever wins that fight would deserve a title shot, honestly. So that's why I think that fight makes sense. I know they already fought before, and it wasn't even that long ago, but I still feel like that fight kind of makes sense, in my opinion. Rodriguez Allen is going to be an MSG. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it's been a fight, as I said, that's been in the works or been rumored for a while. So I don't know when it's supposed to be announced or when it's supposed to happen. But yeah, we only have a couple more cards for the rest of the year, if they are going to fight this year. So either MSG or in December in Vegas. So yeah, either one would be fine. I guess the sooner the better. And if they book that fight for MSG, that'd be a cool addition to that card. I'm definitely interested to see how they fill out that card. Usually MSG cards are always good, and they already kind of have the main event announced officially, sort of, not really, but with JDM and Islam. So I'm sure they're going to look to stack that card. I really hope Van and Pantoja are on that card, but I kind of feel like they're going to be fighting in December in Vegas. If I was Mofsar, I would just release my gosh, good son somewhere else. Yeah, I mean, listen, he definitely has been treated fairly. I would agree with you on that one. But I mean, where else is he going to go? If he's a really good fighter, he's clearly one of the best 145ers in the whole world. So if he goes to another organization, he'll probably beat everybody, I'm assuming. But he probably wants to fight the best, and the best in the UFC the best is the UFC at this point, the best fighters. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm assuming he's definitely going to stay. He's definitely going to stay with the UFC. He's talked about it a bunch of times that he's just going to continue to fight, even if he doesn't get his title shot. He'll just continue to fight. So, yeah, I'm assuming he'll just stay with the company, and if he needs to get one more win, 2 more wins, 3 more wins, 4 more wins before he gets the title shot, it seems like he has the mindset that he's willing to do it, fair or not fair. But yeah, it's kind of where we're at though with our boy Mofsar. Oh man, I keep looking on Twitter and I keep seeing that Raja Jackson thing. It's so bad. There was a clip weeks ago of Rampage Jackson saying that he set aside bail money for his son when he gets arrested. This came out weeks ago, though. Interesting. I wouldn't want to continue not fighting for the belts. Yeah. But each his own. Yeah. Listen, I mean, obviously, Mofsar wants to fight for the belt, but I think with one more win, he probably will get a title shot. Even though he's kind of been getting blackballed a little bit up until this point, I think with one more win, he'll be undeniable, and he'll probably get it. Mofsar versus Allen. Mofsar versus Yair. Allen versus Aljo. Yeah. I don't mind that. I don't mind that matchmaking either. I definitely don't. Yeah, and if Mofsar beats Yair, then he should definitely get a title shot at that point. And then if Aljo beats Allen, I think he deserves a title shot. If Allen beats Aljo, would he deserve a title shot? Honestly, yeah, it would be pretty close at the very least. So, yeah, I don't mind that matchmaking. But, yeah, I heard they were supposed to do Allen and Yair. So I guess we'll see what they decide to do and how they decide to manage everything. I was talking about this before, but there's a lot of guys in a lot of these weight classes, ranked guys in a lot of these weight classes that are kind of just not booked at this point. So there's definitely a lot of fights the UFC could put together at this point, and obviously going into next year into their Paramount deal, they're going to want to put on a lot of really fun and exciting fights for their new deal. I'm assuming in January. Usually the beginning of the year doesn't turn out to be great, but I'm assuming this year around, because this is their first year with Paramount, of course, they're going to look to stack the beginning half of the year. And I do think there's a lot of options for fights they can put together in a lot of weight classes. At 145, obviously, for both Mofsar versus Yair or even Allen versus Aljo, all those guys would be available for next year, I'm assuming. So there's definitely a lot of fights you can put together there. Of course, a title fight you can put together with Alexander Volkanovski and Lerone Murphy. I don't know if that's going to be at the end of this year or early next year. I guess we'll see. But at a lot of weight classes, there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of things that could be put together and could happen. Especially at lightweight, you have Arman Tsarukyan not booked, Max Holloway not booked, Justin Gaethje not booked, Dan Hooker not booked, Paddy Pimblett not booked. All those guys are guys that I would consider to be legitimate contenders at the lightweight division. So there's a lot of things you can do at that weight class. At welterweight, Sean Brady. Did Sean Brady's fight get announced? No, right? No, he was supposed to fight Ian Gary, but Ian didn't want to fight him. So I guess Brady's available at this point. Bilal's available. Shafkat's available. Leon's available. Usman's available. Ian Gary's available. Morales is available. I think literally everybody here in the top 5, top 10 don't have a fight booked. So there's a lot of potential movement there, a lot of potential fights that could be made at welterweight. One fight that I would really like to see, I don't think they're going to make it, but a fight that I would like to see really badly is Michael Morales versus Carlos Prates. I think that fight could be tremendous. But I'm assuming they're not going to make that fight. It actually doesn't make that much sense at this point, as Prates is 9, Morales is 7. And for both of those guys, I think they're going to try to push them against some of these older guys to get a title shot before they fight each other. So, yeah, there's guys there at the middleweight division. Of course, you have Khamzat as champion now. And I know his performance wasn't that exciting against Strickis, but I am assuming in some of his other fights, he's not going to fight like this. I think he's going to, start to get those finishes in some of his other performances. So there's definitely a lot of potential guys at middleweight as well. We'll see how he performs. The biggest guy that would interest me, though, is Khamzat versus Fluffy. I would like to see if Fluffy could survive round 1 against Khamzat, which, if he fights the way he did against Strickis, may be a reality. I would like to see how Khamzat deals with the pace and pressure and wrestling of Fluffy Hernandez. So that'll be an interesting one for me personally. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Where am I? Here we go. Who does Holloway fight when he comes back? Holloway, let's see. I mean, I would like to see him fight Charles Oliveira, but obviously Charles has a fight booked. If Charles beats Fiziev, you could probably put that fight together still, maybe in March or April or something like that with Max Holloway and Charles. You could do that. For another fight, I guess, what else could you do? You could do Max versus Dan Hooker if Hooker somehow doesn't have a fight booked before January, but I think he probably will. Could he do Max versus Paddy? I guess you could. There's definitely matchups you could do, but the matchup that I want to see most is Max versus Oliveira. I think that makes sense if Oliveira wins this next fight, obviously. Murphy still more for a chance. Silver's next title shot. Yep. Yeah. Well, if Silva wins, it'll be the next title shot. Then the rest are just jumbled in and it seems to fight 2 fights. Yep. I agree with you overall, though. Yeah. Obviously, Murphy's going to get the next title shot. After that, I'm assuming Silva's going to beat Lopez, and he'll get the title shot after that. So I do think Movsar is probably going to need to fight at least once. Well, he probably only needs to fight once. If he gets a win, he'll get a title shot. I see something saying that Leon Edwards. Yeah, I mean that's probably like it could happen. I know Leon says he wants to fight in November. But yeah, I've seen that. I'm assuming I've seen the same rumor that you saw. There's a bunch of troll accounts on Twitter that just put out like random BS. But I do think there's a good chance we could see Leon fight in November. I just don't know who it's going to be up against. It could easily be up against Ian Gary. I just don't think anything is in the works yet or anything. It's probably just like a BS made up thing. But we'll see. I'm assuming Leon will fight soon though. I think they do MVP versus Protest in both cases. Okay, yeah. Oh, yeah, because Prata says he wants to fight on the Brazil card, which is coming up soon. So, yeah, that's a good fight as well. That's a fun fight for sure. So, yeah, they could definitely do that. That is crazy. Yeah, MVP's kind of just moving up and down weights here. It's kind of cool. Oh, and what did you say? Sorry, I missed the second part. Lanny had taken that. Yeah, I don't really think he wants to fight Prates at all in general, but especially on short notice. Yeah, he's not taking that. I believe it's Carlos. It's an interesting fight. It really is. I kind of feel like Morales is probably just going to be a champion inevitably. He's just so much bigger and more powerful than everybody else. And I talk about this all the time. I just talked about it before with Charles Johnson. But if you're more physical than everybody else, you have a instinctive advantage where you can hit harder, you can take shots better. Even when it's hard to take Morales down, but a couple of occasions where we've seen him get taken down, he just pops right back up. He's literally like 2 weight classes above everybody else at 170. So I do think Morales is going to be really good. I think he will be a champion eventually. Maybe not his first run, maybe his second run or third, but eventually I think he'll be a champion. And obviously at this point, he is really young as well. Mark Morales is a well-taken. That's not even talked about enough. Yeah. People don't talk about him enough. I think he's going to be really good. I think he's already pretty good. Is he the most technical guy in the world? No, he's not. But he hits really hard and he's technical enough and he can get away with a lot of mistakes because he's so much bigger than everybody else. So he'll be good. Rick Allen, what's going on, brother? You in Japan yet? No, not yet. January of next year is my plan. Brothers, maybe we're the rest of the year. All the main cards are trash. Think so? I think there's some good cards coming up. But we're not getting a UFC 300 level card the rest of the year. Michael Morales and Gary is a good fight they can make. I guess they could put that together. Who's Morales? Morales is number 7 right now. I personally would like to see Morales versus Leon. I don't know if Leon's going to accept that or want that or whatever, but I would like to see that Morales versus Leon or even Morales versus Shavkat. That'd be really fun. Or even Morales versus Sean Brady. That'd be really fun as well. We'll see. Morales might be more wrong. Yeah, he might be. I mean, he's so much bigger than everybody else. He might be. It's close. I mean, Prates is ridiculously powerful. We saw it in so many of his performances. Literally all of his knockouts in the UFC, including his last one, have been walk-off knockouts. It kind of just shows you the power that he has. So obviously Morales has ridiculous power, but yeah. Yo, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Play some background music. I don't think I can. I'm streaming on multiple platforms here, not just Kick. So I don't know if I'm allowed to play background music. 320 is trash, bro. Even Pereira knows he's going to lose again. Unnecessary rematch. Yeah, I mean, I think they probably had to make the rematch. I mean, Alex has been – I agree with you. I think Uncle Ive is probably going to win that fight. But, Alex has been champ for a while. He's helped out the UFC so many different occasions. So I do think that the rematch is justified, but at the same time, I do think that Ankalaev is probably going to win again, and maybe this time around he'll find a finish. We'll see. But what are you going to do? Morales is still very young. He's only 26, I believe. He turns 27. Yeah, he's very young. He's very young. Gary's young at 27. Carlos is taller than Morales, only by an inch. It's actually crazy to me that he's taller than him. But yeah, both guys are definitely big for the weight class. But Morales I'm assuming he has a longer reach than Carlos. Maybe not. I don't know. But based on my memory, I feel like Morales is just like so much bigger than everybody else. But maybe Carlos is close. Do you think Merab will finish Corey or beat him by decision? I think most likely he'll beat him by decision, but I wouldn't be shocked if he finished him. I don't know. Honestly, fuck it. I'll say he'll finish him. I think he will, actually. I think Corey doesn't really have much of a chance, in my opinion. I actually think he has an even worse chance than Sean did. Not saying that Sean is better than Corey, because I think Corey could actually beat Sean. But my point is, with Corey, he just doesn't hit hard at all. And I think for Merab, it's pretty clear. You need to knock this guy out in the first 2 rounds to have any shot at beating him. If you don't knock him out in the first 2 rounds, you're going to lose, either a decision or by a late round finish. And for Sean, I thought he had that ability to find a first round knockout or a first 2 round knockout. But for Corey, he just doesn't hit hard at all. He literally hits like a grandma. So I don't think he has much of a chance there. And I know people are talking about the grappling or the BJJ or whatever. I just think even as much as Corey may have it improved, I just think Merab is obviously on another level there. And I guess anybody could get caught theoretically. But I think Merab will probably be fine in that aspect. Carlos is 6'1", right? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. No, 6'1". I feel like he's taller than 6'1". I don't know. You might be right, though. What the Merab should take down so he lifts himself open to knees so Corey has a small chance to win. Yeah, it would have to be a knee. It wouldn't. Yeah. Honestly, I think knees are probably his only chance at winning the fight. I don't think he's going to get enough space for a spinning wheel kick or anything like that. If it's in close boxing range, even if Corey lands a couple hooks or uppercuts or anything like that, as I said, he just hits like a grandma. So I don't think it's going to be enough to hurt and definitely not to knock out Merab. So yeah, probably knees would be his only chance of winning. Like that flying knee he landed not a while ago. It would have to be something like that. Merab is pretty good. Very good. Yeah, I agree. And if you look back at his fight against Umar, talking about Corey, he kind of fought a little bit differently, where he was getting taken down a lot, but he was reversing and getting back up. I have a feeling he's not going to be able to do that against Merab. And even if he is successful utilizing that sort of method in the first round or first 2 rounds, once you get to round 3, it's going to be very difficult to keep that up. I mean, it is tiring to do that, especially over a 5-round fight when a guy like Merab is going to shoot at you like literally 100 times. When you look at his fight against Umar shot like, I don't know, a normal amount of times. I don't know how many times it was, maybe 10 or 7 or whatever. But Merab is literally going to shoot 100 times on Corey. So it's going to be very tiring to fight that sort of pace of fight. But yeah, as I said, I don't think Corey has much of a chance, but we'll see. Do you follow the NBA juice? I do. Yeah. What about you? What do you think about Eminem Chaz winning Thomas Ball as one of the best grapplers in UFC history? Best grapplers in UFC history? What the fuck? I don't think I would agree with that. I think that's a little bit premature. There really isn't any grapplers, honestly, at the heavyweight division that would give him much competition. I mean, there's a couple blobs that can grapple a little bit, I guess, but the level of competition is nowhere near some other weight classes. And also, there just hasn't been enough, examples. I mean, he has no title defenses yet. That's not his fault, but still, he has no title defenses yet. He needs to have a longer career to be considered that. But yeah, it's a weird take. I don't know. Off the top of my head, a guy that comes to my head, maybe like Charles Oliveira or even Pantoja, would be much higher on the list than Tom Aspinall. So yeah, that's a weird one to me. Yep, I follow NBA and UFC. Yeah, let's go. You don't follow NFL? Oh, okay. All good, all good. Yeah, I essentially follow like every sport that's big in America, like football, basketball, hockey, even baseball, MMA. So essentially follow everything. But my favorite sports are MMA and basketball. You're in DC. Yeah, even higher than DC is ridiculous too. Yeah, it's pretty weird. It's pretty weird to say that. Aspinall hasn't been grabbing that much in the UFC. Yeah, yeah. There's just been like a couple of examples of it. Um, he's definitely a really good grappler, and I think he has an advantage in the grappling against mainly everybody at the weight class. But I think that's more of a fact that everybody else in the weight class kind of can't grapple, as opposed to Tom just being like insane. I mean, he is really good. I don't want to say he's not, but calling him the best ever is insane. And he calls DC overrated. I think he's Jones. Okay, yeah. I've been a UFC fan since 2009. NBA since 2010. Let's go, bro. Let's go. I've been watching it for a while. Um, David, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. You think BSD could surprise us? I do. I actually do. I put a video together breaking that fight down. I feel like it's not going to be that popular. I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for it, but we'll see. I actually think BSD is going to win the fight against Rufi. I mean, it's an interesting fight. It is an interesting fight because I feel like they kind of both have ways to beat each other. I mean, BSD is ridiculously aggressive on the feet, and that's kind of a style that Rufi wants. He wants to pull away and counter you. So, of course, that is a danger factor, and it's something that BSD needs to worry about. But at the same time, BSD is a really good grappler. I know as of late he hasn't had a lot of success, but when you look at his Poirier fight, he was able to take down Poirier and control him essentially the whole first round. And when you look at Islam's fight against Poirier, I know it's hard to do MMA math, but still, when you look at Islam's fight against Poirier, not even Islam was able to do that. So I do think BSD has really, really good grappling. And if he's able to grapple Rufi, I think he can tire Rufi out. We have seen Rufi tired in the past. And maybe he could win a decision that way. And on the ground, who knows how good Rufi is. So I do think there is a possibility that BSD wins. I think at this point I am actually picking BSD to win the fight. But as I said, both of these guys have a way to beat each other. So if it's a first round, Connor level knockout for Rufi, I think that of course is a possibility. DC tells the truth. Yeah, I mean, yeah. John definitely is. He is a cheat. I say this a lot. I know a lot of people don't like it that much, but I think it's true. John Jones definitely was on PEDs. I mean, of course he was caught, but I personally think that everybody, or mostly everybody, is as well. That's not to cover for John Jones. Obviously, he's a cheat and he's not a great person, to say the least. But still, what are you gonna do? I don't agree with your argument that John Jones is the GOAT. I completely agree with this, John. I completely agree. I think John is the GOAT personally. What he's been able to do has been great. I mean, he's not a great person, but I don't think being a great person is part of being the best, in my opinion. So, I mean, you can make arguments that Michael Jordan wasn't a great person either, but he's obviously the GOAT of basketball. Well, in my opinion, at least. I know some people say LeBron, but I think it's got to be MJ. So, yeah. I mean, the whole PDs thing, I agree. I think everybody's probably on something, or most guys are on something. Maybe not literally everybody, but most guys are probably on something. So I don't think it's a great argument either, to be honest. High school athletes are part. I've been called PDs. You really think? Yeah. I mean, listen, these guys have the best chemists in the world. They're able to get away with it and figure it out. And as I said, I mean, some of these guys haven't been caught, so maybe some of these fighters are not. But I think there's a decent percentage of fighters that are probably on something at the very least. And there are ways to circumvent it. Yep. Yeah. 100%. I mean, I hate to call out specific people, but when you look at Kamaru Usman, do you think that guy's not on anything? I mean, it's insane. I mean, there was even that press conference between him and Colby. I think the first time they fought, or maybe it was the second time they fought. But Colby was like, "Yeah, we had to cancel the fight early because Kamaru pissed hot." It's kind of a funny moment. But then Kamaru looked at Dana like that. So I don't know. Does it mean anything? I don't know. But it is kind of funny. That's why some fighters fought. Yeah, yeah. It's just whoever is the better doctors, I guess, gets away with it. Jones fan, hate when people say something truthful about him. Yeah, all right. LeBron isn't the GOAT either. Yeah, I think it's definitely MJ. There's an MJ or Kobe and Jordan. Shit. I mean, LeBron. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't know if Jones goes that night. Yeah, I mean, I think that's undeniable. But two things could be true at the same time, right? LeBron and Jordan Thompson. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, he was on some pretty bad teams. I don't like LeBron. I'll say that. But he was on a lot of teams that weren't good, and he was still able to have success. So I will say that. But I think Jordan's probably better. But talking about the John Jones thing, like two things could be true at the same time. He could have popped for drugs. He could have be a not so great person. But when you look at the things that he actually did, I mean, it was pretty incredible. Being a champion for as long as he's been, being a champion of two weight classes, beating Cyril Gane, who going into that fight, that was a tough fight. People thought it would be a tough fight for John, and he was able to beat him so easily. So that's an impressive win. The Stipe thing, all right, fine. The Stipe thing I don't think it was an amazing win. It was a very dominating performance, obviously, but Stipe was pretty old at that point. So outside of the Stipe thing, and maybe there's a couple of other examples of that, but when you look at the duration of how long John has been able to be champ and some of the guys he's able to beat along the way, I personally think John's the GOAT. When you look at John skill set, you have to admit he's an incredible skill fighter. Yeah, I agree. They can certainly help, obviously, and that's why they're technically not allowed. But I agree with you. Probably everybody's on it, or most of them are on it anyway. So the real differentiating factor at that point is skill. Comes back to skill once again. And yeah, John, I mean, his skills are honestly like ridiculously good. His striking is not like the best in the world, but it's good. And also his grappling is actually like ridiculously good. His top pressure his ground and pound, honestly, maybe one of the best ever. Ridiculously good on top. And his fight IQ was insane as well. His game planning going into fights, his fight IQ within the fight. John Jones just had a lot of really good skills and a lot of really good attributes going into this fights, making him such a great fighter for so long. And still at this point, he's unretired. So I guess technically he's still fighting. We'll see what happens when he fights next, if he does. But regardless, even if he never fights again, I still think he's probably the GOAT. When Curry retires, he will be the GOAT too. I mean, one of the greatest. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we all know Jones great, but he's not the GOAT. Who do you think is the GOAT? Who do you think? I mean, I know John has been talking about this before, and I actually completely agree. I think the GOAT debate is kind of pointless because, like, whatever. If somebody else thinks somebody else is the GOAT, like, who cares? Everybody has a different criteria of how they determine it. But yeah, whatever. I personally think John's the GOAT based off the guys he beat, the duration of how long he's been champion, and just how good he is. GSP is the GOAT in my opinion. That's fair. There's like a couple different guys you can say is the GOAT, and it's fair. It's just up to your personal opinion and how you classify who your GOAT is. So it's all good. That's fucked up. Man. Yeah, just looking at that Charles Johnson knockout again. Charles Johnson's good. It's a good fight. Mighty Mouse is a go-to. Yeah, Mighty Mouse is good for sure. Really good. Contender talk is better than Go Talk. I agree. Yeah, Go Talk is not that interesting to me. But yeah, Contenders is more important. GSP was good, but he definitely was on something. Probably. Real goats don't use drugs to cheat. Yeah, I guess. But if everybody's on it, then what? Nobody's the GOAT. Holloway's a GOAT as well. Yeah, Holloway's great for sure. Yeah, I mean, I talked about this before. I think Holloway's probably looking the best at this point than he's ever had, in my opinion, based on this new fighting style and based on the increased power that he has in his punches also. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Holloway finds his way to another belt at 155. And imagine that after being champion forever at 145, losing the belt and just beating contenders at 145. Now all of a sudden he moves up to 155 and becomes a champion. I think that is a really real possibility for him to do. He's currently the number 3 ranked guy at lightweight, and if Topuria moves up to 170, or if Holloway gets one more win or a couple more wins, he's going to be in the title picture for sure. So yeah, he's not that far away from potentially at least fighting for the belt again at 155. Alexander will be GOAT when he retires too. Will be a GOAT? Yeah, I agree. He'll be one of them for sure. I wish Holloway moved to lightweight sooner. Yeah, probably. I mean, he's not old though. How old is Max? I mean, he's still got time. As I said, he's looking the best that he's ever has. So I do think he's got, at the very least, a couple years left ahead of himself, unless he takes some bad losses, bad knockouts or something. Then I guess that would derail it. But assuming he continues on the trajectory that he's going on right now, I think he should be fine for a little while longer. Gene Silva has become one of my favorite fighters. Such a character. Yeah, he is definitely a really big character. I've talked about this a lot. I think he's also really good. I see him in a very similar light to what I saw Ilia Topuria before he became champ. Not saying that he's as good as Topuria is. Well, who knows? We'll see. But I kind of just feel like he's inevitable. I think he's probably just going to beat everybody at 145. I heavily favor him against Diego Lopez. And then after that, he'll fight for the belt, I'm assuming, against Volkanovski or against whoever else. We'll see who has the belt at that point. But whoever it is, if it's Volkanovski or if it's Lerone Murphy or if it's Evloev or whoever, I think Gene Silva is probably just going to beat all those guys. I think he's probably inevitable. And yeah, he has his antics or whatever, making him a character for sure. But I do think there's a method to his madness. And beyond all the antics and whatever, he's a very good and very technical fighter. So I'm also very high on Gene Silva. He's funny, and also he's a great fighter. Dustin B is one of the greatest. Yeah. He's definitely up there. Maybe he's number 1, honestly. He's had a ton of amazing wins. He's gotten close a couple times against Charles and against, I don't want to say he got close against Islam, but he had some moments, I'll say, in the Islam fight. But yeah, he just was never able to get the title. But outside of title fights, he's been, he had a lot of great wins. His couple wins over Max Holloway were impressive, getting the interim belt. And Dustin has certainly had an amazing career for sure. What's Max fighting style? Well, he used to fight is he used to throw like 29 punch combinations, but he doesn't hit that hard. And in the process, he would take big shots. Because Max had such an amazing chin, it didn't really matter. And he was kind of just outpacing his opponents. But at this point, when you watch Max Holloway fight, he's way more technical and way more patient, I'll say. And he limits his punching combinations to around 2 or 3 punches, landing more powerful shots. And we've seen the results of it as he was able to hurt Justin Gaethje multiple times in the fight. Obviously, at the end, he knocked him out clean. But outside of that, he knocked him down multiple times in that fight. And when you look at the Poirier fight, similar thing happened there, where he was able to knock down Dustin Poirier multiple times. And it just seems like this new way that Max Holloway is fighting is very well suited for him. And I think he's having more success with his style than maybe he otherwise would have with his previous style, especially as he is getting older. And he still has a great chin, obviously, but as you do get older, you have to worry about the chin a little bit. So he's not taking nearly as many shots as he was in the past, and he's hitting a lot harder and finding these finishes. So I personally think his style is better now than it was previous. Doesn't be Allen Iverson of NBA or of the NBA. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, Allen Iverson was tremendous, never a champion though, and I guess for Dustin Poirier as well. I wonder how to get so much power in his hands to come back to lightweight. I mean, obviously he put on more weight, so that's going to help for sure. But even at 145, in some of his fights, we saw more power from Max. I think he just changed his style. I think that's really what it comes down to. He's really sitting down in these shots, as opposed to before when he's just throwing like a million punches in combination, not really sitting down on anything, kind of just trying to outpace and outwork his opponents, as I said before. But now he's really sitting down on his shots, landing shots more cleanly, And I think because of that, he has a lot more power at this point. And on top of that, obviously the added weight certainly does help. But yeah, Max's power is clearly a lot better now than it was in the past, and I think we're seeing a lot of the successes of that for sure. But yeah. What else we got, fellas? What else we got? Literally everything that I see on Twitter is the Rajah Jackson thing. Oof. I was even looking back at this fight versus with the Johnny Walker fight the other day versus Zhang. Zhang actually did land a couple big shots, couple big elbows, couple big right hands, and Johnny was able to eat it. So good win for Johnny Walker, I'll say. Holloway looks so muscular, lightweight. He definitely put on size. Yeah, he definitely put on size for sure. How do you see Patty versus Holloway going? That's an interesting fight. I think probably Max would win that fight. I mean, if he does get taken down, he's kind of in the danger zone, and I think he probably would get submitted if he's on the ground, if he gets taken down by Patty. But at the same time, when you look at Patty, I mean, a big reason why I'm not that high on Patty, I know he's looked pretty good in a lot of his fights, but a huge reason for why I'm not high on Patty is on the feet. I don't think he does much well. In the pocket boxing, he just cannot do it. We saw that against Jared Gordon. But, at range, he could, land some leg kicks, utilize footwork. So at range, I guess he's fine, but you're probably not going to win many fights fighting like that. And in terms of his wrestling is not great either. But what he does do very well is if he's on the ground, he can certainly submit you. He can definitely get advantageous positions, land ground and pound shots like we saw against Chandler. So, I mean, what he does well is grapple, but in terms of his wrestling, in terms of his striking, I don't think it's very good. So in a fight between him and Max, I favor Max personally. I think it'll be difficult for him to get the fight to the ground. Talking about Patty. Brett, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the stream. Any update in the wrestler? No. Well, yeah, I guess. I heard that he was awake. I mean, I guess this was already yesterday, but that he was awake, and I don't know if he's in the hospital or not. I don't know, to be honest. But I know he's awake, so hopefully all is well with him. That was really, really bad. Really bad. Honestly, insane that something like that even could happen. But yeah, even like looking back at the video, we were kind of watching it before, but looking back at the video, he literally knocked him out in the slam and threw 17 additional shots after the slam. And there's a bunch of guys around him. So nobody decided to stop it like before at the 17 shots. It took 17 shots for someone to start to break it up. So that's kind of crazy too. But yeah, you just hate seeing stuff like that. I mean, we saw it, not the same, obviously not the same, but we saw something kind of similar with Jalen Turner and Bobby Green when Bobby was clearly out and Turner just continued to kept throwing. It wasn't Turner's fault. It was the ref's fault, but still, you just hate to see guys when they go out and there's follow-up shots at all. Even if there's one additional follow-up shot, you hate to see it. But in a situation like this where there's literally 17 follow-up shots, it's pretty fucked up. But I hope he's all right. I think he's okay, I'm assuming. But I don't know. I haven't heard anything additional outside of the fact that he's awake. Yeah, dude, she goes to jail. That is true. That's true. I agree with you. I think he probably should go to jail. I think he probably will. I mean, that was bad, man. That was bad. I heard it was a part of the show. I mean, obviously not that part, but like it was a part of the show that he was supposed to jump in there. But obviously he took it way too far and he threw like real shots. I mean, it's fake wrestling. You're obviously not supposed to throw real shots. But the fact that he knocked him out cold and threw 17 shots, it's pretty bad. Probably should go to jail. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about it yet, but yeah. That's partially why I'm not an Ngannou fan. You would hit fighters. Dude, that's actually so true. You're actually so right about that. He would knock fighters out cold, and then he would like do this thing where he just slam them like right after. He did it to Stipe. He did it to everybody, honestly. Yeah, it's just I agree with you. It actually shows bad character. That's a big reason for why I wasn't happy with the RoboCop fight in his last fight when he knocked out what's that guy's name? He knocked someone out cold. Um, Blonde guy, whatever his name is, I'm forgetting. But he knocked him out cold, and then he threw a couple follow-up shots after that. It's just like, I get it. Like on one perspective, these guys are fighters and they need to make split-second decisions. But when you see a guy's out cold, like clearly out cold, maybe ease up on the follow-up shots. But Francis was like known for that. He would knock out a guy like badly, and then he would just do like this thing, and with full power, he would slam his fist into their face. I was never a fan of that. But yeah, honestly, I was never that big of a fan of Francis either. Yeah, yeah, that is true. I mean, yeah, it is the ref's responsibility to stop the fight. But in certain scenarios, listen, if the guy's like kind of awake, I get it, obviously. But if they're like out cold, like out badly, maybe just ease up. There's been a bunch of guys that do that. Carlos Prates always walks away after knocking his opponents out. Like when they're clearly out, he just walks away. Maybe more fighters should do that, but it's easier said than done because you could run into the risk where you think a guy's out, but they're not, and then you lose the fight like Jalen Turner against Moicano. But yeah, I don't know. Ref's got to be quicker, I guess, is the answer. Yeah, he doesn't have good character. I agree. I think he doesn't. I think he doesn't. I'm not saying Dana's the best guy in the world. I think he's probably not, but the whole Francis thing does make Dana look pretty good, to be honest. Back in the side of NBA, choose your own 17 things. Yeah, I do. I definitely think they do. I think they made some improvements in the offseason. And obviously a new coach. A lot of people weren't too happy about the firing of Thibodeau. I think it was warranted, in my opinion. I mean, if you look back, listen, he got the Knicks to the playoffs. Obviously, he got the Knicks to the Eastern Conference Finals. But when you look at a lot of the decisions that he made in the playoffs in general, and especially against the Pacers, he just refused to take out Josh Hart when he was clearly not playing well at all. So I thought because of that and based on a couple of other things that he was just unwilling to improve upon. I personally thought that it was fine. It was fine that they fired him, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out from here. But it'll be nice if they can make it back and hopefully make it past. I mean, the East is wide open at this point. The Pacers are probably not going to be any good this year, or not anywhere near as good as they were last year. The Celtics, same thing. So I don't know. It's very wide open. How do you think Jones versus Ngannou would have gone? Right now or at the time? I'm assuming you're saying at the time. At the time, I think I think Ngannou would have figured it out. I mean, John has great wrestling, but Ngannou showed really good wrestling after the Stipe fight as well, stopping takedowns and even advancing. And I'm assuming Ngannou is stronger than John Jones. So I think I would assume Ngannou would have won the fight, but it would have been really interesting. I would have loved to see it happen, but unfortunately we never saw it. Why people say Jones ducked Ngannou. Well, they're saying that he ducked Ngannou because he took 3 years off, and fans wanted to come back sooner to fight Ngannou, but I guess he needed time to bulk up, or he thought he needed time to bulk up or whatever. So yeah, I don't know. But after when John officially came back, he wanted to fight Francis. When he fought Cyril Gane, it was supposed to be John versus Ngannou, I believe. It was not. I believe it was. And then Francis decided to go to the PFL. So I guess you could say that was kind of a duck. So maybe they kind of ducked each other. You can say. I don't know. But yeah, it's unfortunate we never saw that fight. Like people say, John's a good person. Yeah, I agree. I mean, is Ngannou as bad of a person as John is? No, but I agree. He's probably not a great person either. I'm not a fan of him either. I agree with you, John. Dan is a tough man for this. Yeah. Listen, I do agree with you. Dana has done an amazing job, for sure. I mean, when you look at a UFC event compared to this happens all the time. But whenever I watch a boxing event, or even if I watch a PFL event, it just shows you the disparity and how much better the UFC's product is compared to those other sports and compared to the PFL. Their production is on point. Their spacing, their not spacing, their pacing is on point. The fighters that they were able to sign are all great fighters. They're usually able to put on really good cards. The UFC, I mean, as of late, I guess there's a couple fights that we didn't see that we wanted to, like Islam versus Ilya, or even John versus Francis, or John versus Tom. There's definitely been a couple of those fights, but for the most part, we do see the fights that we want to see. So yeah, there are definitely downfalls to Dana White with his fighter pay, whatever. But honestly, maybe that's not even 100% his decision. I don't know exactly. But in terms of like what he's been able to do, the roster that the UFC has, the production that they have, all the decisions that they make, usually really good decisions. So yeah, he's done a really good job for sure. My Celtics are screwed. Yeah, probably for this year. Yeah, they probably are. Are they trading Jaylen Brown? I heard they may, and obviously Tatum's out for the year. I'm assuming at least. So yeah. So Francis and progressive views not can be no. I think Francis is not a great person because of I don't know, just some of the things he's done. I can't remember everything, so I guess it's not a great argument. But him not showing up to PFL Africa, I don't think is a great show of character. Him, saying that he wants more money, obviously, but his main goal is to be in an organization that is for the fighters, and then he goes alongside to sign with the PFL, where he makes a ton of money, and it is not really doing that much for other fighters. I think that's also a show of not so great character. And there's probably more examples that I'm just forgetting. But yeah, that's probably why I don't love him. And I guess this is kind of like a jovial thing, but I also don't love the fact that he always, when someone's out, he always like slams them after. But I'm not going to use that one against him because, they're fighting. And it's a split-second decision. But yeah. I don't think we've talked about this, boys. What do you think of? What do you guys think of Hamzat and Dricus? What do you guys think of that fight? I thought it was literally the weirdest outcome, maybe of all time. Like legitimately, I thought going into the fight, either Hamzat would have been able to find a finish within the first 2 rounds, probably via submission, or Dricus will be able to survive. And as the fight goes later, around 3, 4, 5. He'll be able to take over and maybe even find a finish. But the fact that Hamzat won via decision by just, holding Dricus down for the whole fight, literally the weirdest thing that I've ever seen, the weirdest outcome that I've ever seen. It was definitely very impressive, I guess, because it was so dominant by Hamzat. But at the same time, it was ridiculously boring. And yeah. And one other thing that I want to talk about is I saw this going around. I know we're a little bit late, but I haven't streamed that much since that fight. One other thing that I wanted to talk about that I mentioned on Twitter is I heard a lot of people after the fight saying like, "Oh, if you thought that fight was boring, then you're a casual." That literally makes no sense at all. It literally makes no sense at all. I get it. It was a dominating performance. It was an impressive performance from Hamzat for sure. But just because, he was dominating and having success doesn't mean it was an exciting fight. Hamzat definitely could have advanced in position a little bit more than he did. He could have, risked it a little bit more to go for more damage or to go for submissions or to go for finishes a little bit more. But he kind of was just content to hold position. And yes, Dricus wasn't doing a great job at getting back up. I admit that. But at the end of the day, I thought Hamzat probably could have done a little bit more to make the fight a little bit more exciting. And saying the fight is boring is not a casual take at all. Sometimes certain fights, I would agree, like maybe it's a casual take to say a certain fight is boring. But, watching a guy just have control time for 5 rounds and just saying that it's boring makes you a casual. It's kind of ridiculous. I think it's probably just guys that are fans of Hamzat are saying that. Because if Mateusz Gamrot, his whole career is based off control. And a lot of people think that Mateusz Gamrot's a boring fighter. So if Hamzat starts a fight like that, in turn, that must mean that Hamzat's a boring fighter. I don't think Hamzat is, but I'm just saying based off that one performance, he kind of fought like Gamrot does, to be honest. But yeah. I get what you're saying, but I don't think he's on the level of Conor or Jones. Oh, I agree. I completely agree. I agree. I don't think he's nearly that bad. Talking about Francis, that fight was so boring. I agree. Yeah. Was boring. I thought Hamzat was boring, but Yeah, I agree with you. I do agree with you on that part. It definitely is on DDP to get back to his feet or stop takedowns. I was surprised. I was assuming that Hamzat would be able to find a takedown relatively easily in the first 2 rounds, but I was surprised about how easy it was over 5 rounds. Once we got to round 2, round 3, round 4, and then even round 5, it was so easy for Hamzat to get the takedowns. That's the biggest thing that I was surprised about, how easy it was for him over 5 rounds. There was literally no resistance at all from Trickus, and the only success that he had was when they stood them up, and he was able to land a couple of big shots. He even was able to get full mount, and was also able to get Hamzat's back in that 5th round, which is kind of crazy. It's like, holy shit, can he pull it off after getting dominated? But unfortunately for him, he wasn't able to do it. The fight went exactly how I expected it to. Not sure why people were so hot to that. You expected it to be like that? You expected it to be Hamzat just holding position for 5 rounds? Wow. If you expected that, hats off to you. That's, in my opinion, that's literally the last thing that I could have expected at all. I know Hamzat's a way better wrestler, but I thought because he was so much better, I thought he would be able to find a finish early, or he'll gas out and Dricus will be able to take over. I knew DDP Hamzat wasn't going to be that good. Yeah, if you actually predicted that, that's insane. That's insane. Good for you. Alex P. Magomed was boring too. I agree. That was a little bit slower. Hopefully, going into the rematch, it'll be a little bit more fun, but we'll see. Do you think Hamzat will be active? I'm hoping that he will be. I know he said he wanted to fight in October initially, and now it seems like that's not going to happen. If I had to guess, I'm assuming he's probably going to fight like once a year, once maybe twice a year. I don't think he's going to fight any more than that. It is weird because at one point Hamzat was ridiculously active, but ever since that point, ever since he got sick or whatever, it just seems like he's not fighting nearly as much at this point. And yeah, if I had to guess, I think he's going to fight once a year. It's unfortunate because Dricus was pretty active, and in my opinion, I probably would have preferred Dricus to be champion just because he was very active and also he was really fun. But we'll see. I mean, Hamzat's a great fighter, and maybe it'll be a little bit more exciting against some other guys. So we'll see. We'll see what's next for our boy Hamzat. But yeah. What else we got, chat? What else we got? Looking back on the hallway fight, looking back on how I get you. Really, I thought the fun. I thought the fun was. I thought the fight was really fun. There was multiple knockdowns in that fight. I know it was a very dominating performance from Max. It wasn't the best fight in the world, but I thought it was pretty good, and the knockout was incredible. So yeah, Holloway just dominated Gaethje pretty much. He did, but it was different though, because he was getting knockdowns, and Gaethje even knocked down Holloway once in that fight. It's different. When you're dominating someone in the striking, it's a lot more exciting than dominating someone in the grappling, the way that Hamzat was able to do, in my opinion, at least. All champions should have to fight twice a year. I agree with you. I completely agree with you. Yeah. Will Hamzat do that? I'm hoping he will, but for whatever reason, I feel like he may not. But we'll see. I'm hoping I'm wrong, though. What's your top 5 most boring fights in the UFC? Number 1 is, this is not in any order, but number 1 is Carlos Esparza versus Rose. Well, that's actually probably number 1 of all time. I don't know what the fuck that fight was. That's definitely 1. 2 is probably Francis and Derek Lewis. 3 is Izzy and what the fuck? What's the name I'm thinking of? Izzy and the Cuban. It's insane. I can't think of his name. Let me find this. Yoel Romero. I don't know. I couldn't think of that. Yoel Romero and What's other boring ones? Off the top of my head, Jared. That's another good one. Jared versus Izzy was a pretty boring one. Um, I don't know. I can't think of any others actually, but there's definitely a lot more examples than I mentioned. The most inactive is Whaley. I completely disagree with Clark. Yeah, she actually is very inactive, and I guess it's because it's women's MMA. Maybe people don't care as much. People aren't really talking about it. But yeah, if there was like a John Jones or whoever else um, that has been as inactive as Whaley has been, people would complain about it a lot more. But yeah, for Whaley, you don't really hear much about her. Like she hasn't fought at all, really, or that much at all, and nobody really talks about it. So yeah, it's just different. Valentina, yeah, yeah. That's a good one too, actually. Yeah, as insanely boring. Um, yeah, there's a lot of honestly a lot of good examples as of late. Let's see if there's any examples as of late. Um, on this card, obviously not. Um, yeah, I don't think so. As of late, no. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of examples. Um, but yeah, for the most part, we are kind of lucky. We do see mostly good fights, and I talked about this before, but it is why we love MMA. Just because even on bad cards or perceived bad cards in the Apex or whatever, we could see incredible performances at any point. When you look at a lot of these fights, a lot of these big finishes, a lot of these great performances, honestly, a lot of times they do come from the Apex on fights that are not perceived that well. So for the you could get the boring fights. Obviously, there's definitely a lot of examples, but there's a lot more examples of fights that you don't think are going to be that good, and they turn out to be great. But, yeah. I don't know why people dislike women. It's much easier to bet on. That is true. It is a lot easier to bet on. I actually completely agree with you on that one. Um, but yeah, but I think people don't like women's MMA because of that fact exactly. From a betting perspective, yeah, it's easier, but because it's so predictable, or not, it's more predictable, I'll say, um, than men's MMA. At the same time, it kind of makes it more boring if you know what's going to happen or if you have a good idea of what's going to happen. They kind of takes away that element of why a lot of us fans became MMA fans in the first place. We can't, at least for me and for a lot of people, we became MMA fans in the first place because it's a great sport. It's fun to watch, obviously. But a big reason for why it's so fun to watch is because you can have a Leon Edwards situation where he's losing the whole fight and he finds a head kick, or you can have a Max Holloway situation where he's winning the whole fight, gives Gaethje a chance, and still finds the knockout. There's the unexpected aspect in men's MMA with knockouts and submissions or whatever. And in women's MMA, of course, it could happen, but it's nowhere near as likely as it could happen in men's MMA. But from a betting perspective, I agree with you. It makes it easier. My top 5 most boring fights are Hamzat DDP, Gary versus MVP, Izzy Cannonier, Lewis for Charlton. That's a good one, actually. Lewis for Charlton was such a funny fight. Honestly, I thought it was such a funny fight that I don't even know if I would put it there, but it was definitely a boring fight. Lewis versus Ngannou, yeah. The Charlton versus Derek Lewis fight was, I think that might have been the funniest fight I've ever seen in my life. Charlton literally had full mount for 25 minutes, the entirety of the fight, and he was able to do limited to no damage at all, and he wasn't able to find a submission. It was the weirdest fight that I've ever seen. It was the most dominating, weird fight I've ever seen. It was insane. But yeah, that was insane. MMA kills momentum, especially pay-per-views. Yeah, a lot of times, unfortunately, it does. UFC should get rid of one. Yeah, a lot of people say that. Is it just the women's game? Yeah, probably. They're definitely behind the game. Well, it's two factors. They are probably, or not probably, 100%. They're behind the men pretty significantly. So when you're going from watching like a ridiculously high skill, like let's say it's the Poirier versus Islam, the most high skilled fight you could possibly have. If you go from that fight or the fight before that, whatever. If you go from that fight and then the next week or the next fight, whatever, it's just like a low-level women's fight, the skill level is just ridiculously different. Or even when you look at two unranked men fighting compared to two unranked women fighting, it's like ridiculous how big the skill gap is between the two fights. So yeah, it is in part due to that, but also it's in part due to the fact. I mean, let's just be honest: men are more athletic, more powerful, whatever. So they have the ability to put on more exciting performances. They have the ability to lose a fight for the most part, find one big shot, knock their opponent out. It just leaves for the element of surprise a lot more in men's MMA as compared to women's MMA. Of course, it could happen in women's MMA. There's definitely been knockouts, of course, but it's just not the same level and not the same rate as men's MMA. It was funny. Yeah, that was kind of funny too. Speaking of Sergey though, Sergey Spivak. Yeah, okay, yeah. But speaking of Sergey Pavlovich, it is kind of funny that he went from one of the most exciting fighters in the UFC to a guy who only gets into decisions. I mean, in his last fight versus Waldo, he definitely looked for the finish, but at the same time, Waldo was able to eat his shots. But it's kind of crazy. That's 3 decisions in a row for Sergey Pavlovich. And imagine saying that to somebody back, a couple years ago when he was getting the knockouts over everybody, that he was going to be in 3 decisions in a row. It's kind of just crazy, but that's kind of what it goes. That's kind of how it is. I was listening to Aljo Ortega Center. Oh, for sure. There's definitely a lot of boring men's fights, but in my opinion, I would say there's a lot more boring women's fights. But that's not to say that there's no boring men's fights. Give me what was it? Over heavyweight. Yeah. I mean, for sure, it could be better. Sure. I think Sandy will be Merab. We'll see. I'm personally on the other side of it. I'm actually pretty confident Merab would win the fight, just because, is Corey more skilled than Sean O'Malley is? Yeah, he probably is. I mean, he almost definitely is. But I think for Corey, really his only path to victory here is finding a big knee when Merab's coming in. But outside of that, even if Merab is willing to box, I don't think he will be, but theoretically, even if he was willing to box against Corey just does not hit hard at all. That's his big problem. He's very skilled on the feet, very, very skilled. He just doesn't hit hard at all. So I don't think, even if he's landing some shots from Merab, I don't think he's really going to hurt Merab. And in terms of range, I don't think there's going to be much range in this fight either. Merab is going to be pressuring the entire time. He's going to be shooting a ton. So I don't think there's going to be many opportunities for Corey to throw a spinning wheel kick or anything like that. It'll literally just have to be the knee. And then on the ground, yes, Corey does have better jiu-jitsu than Sean does. He's certainly improved his jiu-jitsu and his ability on the ground ever since he got to the UFC. And him getting submitted by Aljo was so long back in the day. At this point, he's a much better grappler than he was at that point. But still, there is still a huge difference between him and Merab. And anybody, I guess, theoretically could get caught by a submission. I just don't think Merab is going to get submitted by Corey. Could be wrong. If I am, clip this and send it to me, I guess. But I kind of just feel like Merab has the style to beat Corey personally. Sandhagen has the IQ. Yeah, he has good IQ for sure. But honestly, I guess, how do you see him beating Merab? I guess would be my question. Why do you think he'll beat Merab? Because for me, I could be wrong, I guess, but for me, on the feet, I don't think he'll really be able to beat him there, at least with the boxing. I don't think the fight's going to be at a range where he can throw head kicks. And in terms of the knees, yeah, I guess the knees could be there theoretically. Maybe like a flying knee lands when Rob's coming in. Maybe that's the way he could win. But outside of that, I don't really see any other way. On the ground, I don't think he submits him. And I think similar, not saying that Corey gasses out because he doesn't, but similarly to everybody else when they fight Merab, once you get to that third round, you're probably going to start to gas out a little bit, even for Corey. And in round 3, 4, and especially in round 5, I think takedowns are going to be easier. And I think Merab is going to start to pull away with the fight. And who knows, maybe in final finish. He's been doing that a little bit more as of late. So that's kind of how I see the fight playing out. But we shall see. We shall see. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, it's literally just no news. Everything that I see on Twitter is just Rampage's son. He says his path to victory is a KO. Well, I agree with that part. Yeah, I've talked about this a lot, but for Merab, when you're going up against Merab, in my opinion, he's literally impossible to beat in a 5 round decision. The only way you can beat this guy is a first round KO or a second round KO. That's your only chance. But as I said, with Corey, he just doesn't hit hard, so I think it'll be tough for him to do that. It'll have to be a flying knee. That's the only way I see him winning, personally. But as I said, I could be wrong. Maybe he finds some sort of big shot that knocks out Merab, but I just don't think it's super likely, in my opinion. But yeah, but in premise, I do agree with you. Like, you have to knock this guy out in the first 2 rounds. That's your only chance of beating him. As the fight goes longer, he's just gonna rob you. He's gonna gas you out. Takedowns are gonna be easier. It's gonna be harder for you to land big shots because you're so tired, and you're most likely going to be on your back in round 4 as well as in round 5. So it's tough. It's definitely tough. Merab's a tough fight for just about everybody, honestly. But yeah. But anyways, fellas, I hope you guys enjoyed this little live stream. We've been streaming for around an hour and 45 minutes. Obviously, I'm not in my home setup, so I'll let you know, guys, for streaming schedule for the rest of the week. I will be back, though, on Thursday of next week. What is that, the 28th? Yeah, so on the 28th, we'll get back to our normal streaming schedule every day during the week and weekends on Sundays at 2 p.m. Eastern time. So we'll be back to that sort of schedule. But for now, it'll kind of just be sporadic streams. I'll let you know a little bit beforehand when I stream. But yeah, anyways, thanks everybody for joining the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed. And until the next time, peace out, fellas.